हेलो। कार्टून्स ने हमें बचपन से सिखाया है दैट डॉग्स लव ड्रिंकिंग मिल्क, इसलिए बचपन से हम भी यही सीखते आए हैं दैट डॉग्स लव ड्रिंकिंग मिल्क. बट व्हाट इफ आई वाज टू टेल यू दैट डॉग्स एक्चुअली कैनॉट टॉलरेट मिल्क? डोंट बिलीव मी? वी स्पोक टू सुरभि, हु इज अ canine nutritionist. उसकी बात सुन लो.
What I wanted to start with is actually first, I think, bringing about a little bit of distinction between food allergies and food intolerances, because often these are used quite interchangeably, but they're actually not the same thing, right? So when we talk about food intolerance, the most important thing is that it only affects the digestive system, right? And it might present itself with one or two other symptoms, but largely what you're going to see is you're going to see diarrhea, you could see a little bit of vomiting, right? And so you could eat small bits of this offending food, you may be able to prevent a reaction. It could be that your body is missing a certain enzyme to break down the food. Another chronic condition might sort of elicit this reaction towards a certain kind of food. But usually, for example, if your dog is eaten, let's say a little bit of a different protein type, right, and immediately has very mucousy poop or has diarrhea, I think a lot of times people assume that that's an allergy, but it could just be food intolerance, right? And so I think one of the best examples is actually with milk products, right? We know that dogs are lactose intolerant, which means that they don't have the necessary enzymes to break down lactose as a compound in their body. But a lot of dogs can still consume dairy and fermented milk products, right? Without necessarily having a very strong reaction to their body, right? So some dogs again might, if they consume a little bit too much of dairy, they might end up having loose poop, they might end up throwing up a little bit, but other than that, they pretty much are able to sort of consume and hold down that food, right? And so that really is an example of food intolerance, right? It is much more short term. It's very immediate to an offending food that you might be eating, and so I think it's important to keep in mind that a food intolerance could lead to an upset stomach, but that may not necessarily be a food allergy. Yeah. Okay. With food allergies, they essentially impact the immune system, right? And in a lot of cases, they could be really life-threatening. So again, if you look at the human context, you'll have people who, for example, are extremely allergic to peanuts, right? They go into anaphylactic shock. You have individuals who are extremely allergic to strawberries, right? Where it sort of, again, causes a very adverse reaction in their body. Sometimes they need antihistamines to be injected into their bodies. Those are allergies, right? And again, food allergies essentially impact the immune system. Now, antibodies are essentially, and the way that allergies work is, the immune system recognizes a component of a protein or a carbohydrate as something that's toxic, something that's attacking the immune system, and starts producing antibodies to sort of fight it, right? And so this is usually towards a protein or a carbohydrate component, and it could happen, again, as a result of prolonged exposure to the same kind of food, same brand, same type of food. Some components are slightly more genetic in nature. Some components have to do with the quality of protein or carbohydrate that the dog is also consuming. One of the big things with food allergies in dogs is that there is a host of other symptoms that support that food allergy, right? So you're going to see primarily a lot of skin issues. So itchy paws, eczema, hives. We call this as acute dermatitis. Patches of red skin, fur falling, gunky ears, extremely smelly, foul-smelling ears, very, very waxy ears. They could have swelling on different parts of their body. They could be extremely bloated, and it could also be accompanied with diarrhea and vomiting, right? But what you're seeing over here with food allergy is just a host of other symptoms apart from just having a poor digestive reaction, right? And one of the more common accompanying symptoms for food allergies is usually skin issues. And so a lot of the times we sort of, start addressing skin issues as dermatitis or fungal infections or bacterial infections, but we don't really look at the food, right? And a lot of the times it could be that the dog is consuming a food product either in the form of protein or a carbohydrate component that is causing these flare-ups to happen, right? Other symptoms could also include, weight loss, hyperactivity, reactivity, lack of energy, right? So if I'm constantly consuming food that's putting my immune system under a lot of stress and creating a situation where I'm constantly fighting, with what I think are toxins, then that is going to lead to a host of other behavioral issues as well. Okay. Right, so this here is a good example of what potentially an allergic reaction to something could look like. You're going to see redness around certain areas, potentially bald patches, loss of skin, discoloration on the skin. Usually you don't get a reaction like this if a dog is intolerant towards a food component. Like I said, an intolerance could potentially just result in a little bit of digestive distress. But with food allergies, it's just far more comprehensive, right? Because here's really where the immune system is getting affected. Eliminate all of these foods. The answer is not so simple. It is a little bit of a yes and a no. I think with some of these components, I think it definitely does require a little bit of thinking to saying, does the dog require these at all? Is there any nutritional benefit to this? And if it is not, then we can absolutely eliminate it from the diet. So for example, dogs really don't have any nutritional requirement for corn and soy, right? So it's something that should not be part of their foods. Those are fillers. They don't really do anything for the dog's nutritional health. And so anyway, they should not be part of the diet. With other meat proteins like chicken, lamb, and beef, or even dairy for that matter, there are a bunch of ways to sort of work around them. As protein sources, they're very important protein sources in a dog's diet. But again, like I said, the answer is not so much as simple as a yes or no. Yeah.
समझे? While dogs may lap up milk जब आप उनको वो दो, but their systems actually can't tolerate lactose. But अब अगर दूध नहीं tolerate कर सकते, हम पनीर और दही क्यों दे सकते हैं dogs को? वो भी तो dairy products हैं. The difference there is lactose levels. Paneer or curd में lactose levels are as low as 2%, which is about half of what you find in cow and buffalo milk. That's why paneer or curd healthy बोला जाता है for dogs and milk actually avoid करने को कहते हैं. If you'd like to get answers to other dog nutrition questions like this, make sure you're downloading the Sploot app, जहाँ पे आपको मिलेगा content on everything from dog nutrition, behavior, health, etc., where you'll be able to talk to other dog parents and get their opinions, attend live webinars with experts like Surabhi from the video, and track your dog's medical records as well as exercise. Download now on iOS and Android. And if you want to watch more informational content like this, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel.